Chief Executive says curfew's not the best idea to restore order. People arrested in Mongkok upheaval appear in court. And increases in CLP power charges next year not as high as forecast earlier.
CLP Power said today it will put up power charges next year by less than the originally forecast 12%. The rate will be announced around the middle of next month.
CLP Power raised electricity charges by 3.9% earlier this year. And last year it forecast that 2015 would see a nearly 12% hike. But the company revealed today that the rate of increase will end up being much lower than that. CLP Power Managing Director Paul Poon said that's partly due to a 15% fall in coal prices. But he added that the company faces great pressure from fuel costs. That's because the amount of power generated by burning the more expensive natural gases has to be doubled next year to meet emission cap requirements, and CLP Power takes a 90% share of it. Poon said the company has also been trying to extend the lifespan of the Yacheng natural gas field and acquire more enviro coal, which has a very low sulfur content. The power supplier also said up to the end of June, it had accumulated $2 billion in its fuel clause account. It said it still needs time to assess whether this will go up further at the end of the year, but believes it can help ease the pressure of rate hikes. Hong Kong's other power company, Hong Kong Electric, which began freezing tariffs this year, had said earlier it would not raise rates for the next 4 years.
And it's day 61 of the Occupy movement. You're looking at live shots of the protest sites in Admiralty and what was the protest site in Mongkok. Things continue to be calm at the site in Admiralty, while order has largely been restored in Mongkok. Roads and shops reopened in the area today, but this only came after a volatile night of clashing, which saw more than 20 people arrested. The police are now regrouping in preparation for more attempts by protesters to retake the roads there.
Speaking from South Korea, Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying today praised the Hong Kong police for being effective, saying it would not be the best idea for the government to be forced into taking measures such as implementing curfews. He insisted that the best thing to do is for people to obey the law. Last night's upheaval began at around 7 p.m, with protesters gathering outside Bank Centre on Nathan Road just hours after a clearance operation by bailiffs and the police ended. Officers requested the crowd to disperse, but clashes broke out soon afterwards, and police used pepper spray to control the situation. Officers took many protesters away. Shops closed their shutters. Then another standoff over at Sai Yong Choi Street South as protesters amassed there. Police told them to leave, but they refused. Chaotic scenes as scuffles ensued. During this time, chants of genuine universal suffrage were heard echoing through the narrow streets. Around midnight, large groups of people gathered around Sai Yong Choi Street South and Soy Street. Police again told them to disperse, otherwise force would be used. A crowd then began flocking to the junction of Argyle Street and Nathan Road. Many people crossed the road back and forth continuously. Police reinforcements arrived and forced people onto the pavement. Police tactical unit officers were then dispatched to stand guard in the area. But more clashing erupted around 4 in the morning. Many protesters were subdued by police. It wasn't until around 5 a.m. that the roads were cleared of demonstrators and traffic could go through again. Today, police presence continued to be heavy in Mong Kok, standing alert in case protesters attempt to retake roads again. Some cosmetic shopkeepers were pleased that they could finally receive stock deliveries by truck for the first time in nearly 2 months. This shoe shop owner said he did 30% less business last month compared with October last year. He added that he's prepared to close up shop at any sign of unrest because it's important to protect himself. Some stall owners at the ladies' market are even more on edge as it takes them an hour to put away their wares. We can't just roll down a shutter and leave, this owner said. Meanwhile, Tourism Board Chairman Peter Lam commented that while tourist numbers have gone up slightly recently, the increase in those who stay overnight is small. He said hotel prices have dropped a lot and hoped this would bring more tourists to Hong Kong over the Christmas holidays.
31 of the more than 100 people arrested by the police during the two-day operation in Mong Kok appeared in court today. And as part of their bail conditions, the defendants are barred from entering parts of Mong Kok. Owen Fung reports.
The defendants were brought to the Kowloon City Magistracy by police vehicles this morning. Among them were legislator Leung Kwok Hong, convener of the student group Scholarism Joshua Wong, and the Deputy Secretary General of the Federation of Students Lester Shum. The trio are accused of obstructing public officers from carrying out their duties. The prosecution requested to ban all defendants from entering the area bordered by Fa Yun Street, Shanghai Street, Mong Kok Road and Dundas Street as one of their bail conditions. The prosecution stated that this is to prevent the defendants from reoffending. Some of the defendants objected to the condition. Leung told the court that, as a legislator, he needs to attend many functions. Michael Vidler, legal representative of Wong, argued that the motivation of the prosecution is political, while stating that the student leader needs to enter the banned area for attending university. Principal Magistrate Peter Law rejected all of the defendants' requests, but allowed them to travel through the area on transport or in transit. All the cases today were adjourned until January 14th.
I think my right as a human being and my authority as a legislator have been quashed by the abuse of the due process by the police forces.
We do not hurt any people who are responsible for clearing the roadblock. However, the policemen try to hurt us. It's really out of our expectation.
Outside the court, Wong also urged Occupy protesters to persist with their demands on political reform. As Wong was leaving the courthouse, he was pelted with eggs. Some of the egg also landed on Vidler. The broken eggs were left on the floor several meters outside the court as police officers went to the scene to investigate. 2 men were apprehended around Kowloon Hospital on suspicion of initiating the attack. Owen Fung, TVB News.
Pan-democratic legislators are crying foul over the way police treated civilians in Mong Kok the past 2 evenings. The lawmakers stress the ultimate solution to this deadlock is for the authorities to answer to the occupiers' demand for genuine universal suffrage. Stephanie Choi reports.
The Pan-democrats call upon all sides to exercise self-restraint in the umbrella movement.
Speaking out against what they call disproportionate force by the police during their clearance action in Mong Kok over the past 2 evenings, pan-democratic legislators say this causes distrust between civilians and law enforcement agencies. Even passers-by aren't spared, said Lee Chuk-yan of the Labour Party, referring to what he called the abuse of police power when he saw officers hit pedestrians on television. Frederick Fung pointed out that police who are in the position of authority should not have used excessive force. But he also called on Occupy protesters not to provoke officers or disobey police orders. Although the Pan Democrats admit they're still split on the issue of whether they should encourage protesters to retreat, they say the ultimate solution to the stalemate is for those in power to respond to the people's demand for genuine universal suffrage.
This is a political question to be answered by political means. We are very concerned that the Leung Chun-ying administration has been using first our courts, then the police, to a political end. But this is not the way to solve the problem that is haunting Hong Kong.
Stephanie Choi, TVB News.
The Independent Police Complaints Council, or IPCC, has received 13 complaints about police operations in Mongkok over the past 2 days. Throughout the 2-month Occupy movement, more than 1,300 individuals have filed complaints against the police. Liz Yun has more.
Of the 13 complaints about police actions in Mongkok over the past 2 days, at least 5 are about alleged assault by police officers. The rest are mostly about misconduct of officers. The IPCC refused to comment on police actions and behavior, saying it's impossible to judge individual cases based on media footage alone. Since the start of the Occupy movement, a total of 1,395 individuals have filed 129 complaints against the police. But the IPCC has reservations about sending its members to the occupied sites as observers.
In fact, quite a number of members, they volunteer to go to different sites to do their own observation in a personal capacity. And then when they come back, they do share their observations with the rest of the council members.
Meanwhile, the IPCC received 17,000 complaints against the council itself, with some complainants questioning the impartiality and neutrality of individual members. The chairman admitted that 3,900 complaints are directed at him.
I think it probably is not appropriate at this stage for me to express any views or comments because the secretaries are dealing with them. And I think at the appropriate time, they would have, I think, a report to the public.
Concerned about the number of complaints received over the ongoing civil disobedience movement, the council suggested the Complaints Against Police Office set up a special team to deal with complaints related to the Occupy protests. Liz Yun, TVB News.
A technician of the Now TV News crew was arrested on suspicion of assaulting a police officer on Tuesday night. He was released unconditionally today. The technician was arrested while he was working in Mongkok after the police claimed that his aluminium ladder hit an officer's leg. He was released unconditionally at Hong Kong Police Station early today. The police said the man refused to post bail and they reserved the right to prosecute him. Lawmaker Ip Kwok Him, who earlier accused the technician of attacking the officer, offered to apologize for his inaccurate description. The technician says he is content with Ip's response.
7 police officers who allegedly assaulted Civic Party member Ken Zung at Tamar Park last month have been granted bail. The 7 suspended officers arrested yesterday and released today on bail will have to report to the police next month. The police have insisted that they did not delay in dealing with this case and called on Ken Zung to work with the police after Zung failed to show up for the identification of suspects. The Civic Party member justified his absence, citing procedural injustice by the police, but added that he is willing to cooperate in the investigation.
Still ahead in the news tonight. A 3-year-old believed to have shot and killed his mother in the U.S. New hope in the fight against Ebola. And the Japanese craft of hand-making paper, now on the UNESCO list.
"60 Minutes returns to Chernobyl, still radioactive and dangerous after almost 30 years. Also, a look at some of the 70,000 bridges in the US that have been deemed structurally deficient. Saturday night, 60 Minutes at 6.